guys, it's Raina. So I've been doing a series of videos on the different sun signs and the people who love them, and it doesn't have to be a romantic situation. It could be parent to child or a friendship that you have and you want to understand them better and understand what motivates them and what kind of triggers them even. But anyway, before I begin, I just want to say that if you look ahead of you, you can see that I have some cards propped up there. And I picked 3 cards that I thought would kind of, describe Virgo. The one in the middle is from this Keepers of the Light Oracle deck that I just got. And I just picked a card. It really, isn't, it says Lady Portia, Divine Order. And I was thinking of the tendency for Virgos to be very organized and, have everything in a different compartment. The original librarians, maybe having books arranged alphabetically or something like that, or with different topics. I have a moon in Virgo, so I can understand some of those tendencies. And of course the Hermit on the left hand side is a card associated with Virgo from the Major Arcana. And it's kind of interesting when I think of it. Now I can see the solitary part of it, which the number 9 represents, but the actual seeking of inner wisdom, I think that it's fair to say it's kind of like being a nun or a priest, because there's always this chaste quality that Virgo is associated with. It's the, when you see the astrological depiction, it's the Virgin. And so some Virgo women will have a very kind of, they may not be like very sensual looking. They may have almost like a certain, I don't want to say asexual, because it's really, that's not fair. They can be very attractive and sexy in their own way, but there's a chasteness about it. There's just a certain wholesomeness, maybe you could say. And the other thing is that there's a purity that extends to being very hygienic, for instance, which is also associated with Virgo, but anything perfectionistic. So Virgo people can tend to be very hard on themselves, and sometimes they can be hard on other people. I have a moon in Virgo, so I think it kind of enhances that tendency, to be critical, because the moon is kind of the shadow side of things, I feel. I've dealt with people with sun in Virgo, and they can notice your flaws, and they may even say you have lint on your collar or something like that. But there's not the same intensity about it. It's kind of almost like, hey, this is how it is. With the moon, maybe because the emotions are being engaged, it becomes like a little bit of an irritable type of outburst or something, where you're just like, and I know it's like when I see something, especially for me, it's the grammar situation. So all of you grammar Nazis out there, just realize that you might have prominent Virgo in you. So I also picked a card on the right-hand side. The Pentacles, I picked the Two of Pentacles there. And the Two of Pentacles isn't so much a card of, the number 2 is not necessarily having anything to do with Virgo, but I thought of it because all of the mutable signs, so we're talking about Virgo and Gemini and Sag and Pisces, are dual signs. they have symbols that have two. You know, Gemini, it's the two twins. Pisces, the two fish. Sag, the half man, half horse. And for Virgo, there's two virgins, I think. And so there is a bit of duality. And then with the pentacles, we're looking at earth signs. So I picked the two of pentacles for that. But I also think it really illustrates the fact that because Virgo is a mutable earth sign, it does have that flexibility, and it probably does tend to have a job in addition to its main job, like always have more than one job, like a Jamaican. I heard that they say there's like some saying that Jamaicans have 3 jobs, so that in case the other 2 go away, they always have a third one. And I think that's a great mentality, to be honest with you, to have that third income stream. But I mean, that's really being prepared. So, but I'm saying with the two of Pentacles, that's certain, maybe even ambivalence or duality. With Virgo, it's not so much that they are having a hard time making decisions, but like all the mutable signs, they are very open to being influenced by whatever's happening. So you have the cardinal signs, like for instance in Aries, and they want to create whatever it is that they're about. In other words, they want to create the reality. They're the master creators of their own reality. The master self-starters, okay? And so they tend to, be that initiator very easily. It comes naturally to them. The fixed signs, they're more interested in maintaining the status quo. And a fixed sign would be like a Taurus or Scorpio, for instance. And so they're not necessarily innovators, but they want to preserve what already has come about. Well, mutable signs are kind of in between that. I think that mutable signs are perfectly capable of starting a project, but they may chew it over quite a bit, and they may think it over and weigh the options, where an Aries person might jump right in with both feet. So having said all of this, what else can I say about Virgo? I feel like Virgo is a very modest sign. And so even if you get the Virgo person who is A type of personality, very driven, there's always going to be a part of them that is very ego-free. And the ego doesn't necessarily mean anything bad. That's more of the narcissistic ego. There can be a good ego that is you really knowing who you are and living in that knowledge and feeling very comfortable in your own skin and really feeling like you came here to express a certain thing. So there's no wishy-washy-ness in terms of your sense of self. You're very sure of certain things in life. And with and that's just being confident and not overbearing at all. But the people that tend to be overbearing are the people who tend to not really feel powerful. And so they have to gain that power through dominating somebody else, feeling like they have control over another situation. Sometimes they gravitate towards positions of authority, whether it be on the job or as parents, so that they can, have that sense of, strength, but it's really not there, obviously. If you have to feed off of somebody else in order to feel powerful, then you don't have it to begin with. So Virgos can be very strong in that regard, where they can be very quietly ambitious and industrious. And that's a biggie for Virgo, is being industrious, because they're very resourceful people. And, you can look to Virgos, and I actually had a Virgo person who said, well, you want to know how to get, that type of stain out of your white shirt, hints from Heloise. It's like really having this practical knowledge at their disposal because they like to help other people. And that is an admirable trait. I mean, there are enough people on this planet who are only out for themselves. And Virgo is the ruler of the 6th house, and it is the house of service. It can be the work that you do, but it's also just on the more, I would say, the more spiritual level, the more service-oriented or not, what do they call that? It's called, now this isn't, I don't think this is Hinduism, but it's in the yogic community, seva, if you've heard that term, devotional service. Giving of others without any expectation of something in return. So even like, it's not a monetary exchange like your job. But yeah, so Virgo is a sign of the servant. So there's a servile quality among many Virgo people where they really want to help. And this is where sometimes they can get involved in these negative relationships with people who are takers. And this is exacerbated if the person is a Virgo and they have like fire energy like Aries or something like that, or Sagittarius, because then they can be even more generous of their time and resources. But aside from that, the Virgo person in the workplace is going to be very modest and unassuming. They may even be slightly insecure. They may question their abilities on a regular basis. And so they need reassurance. They don't need criticism because they are good at doing that to themselves. And so this is where parents of Virgo children, or even Virgo moon children, maybe Virgo rising, come in. If you have a child who has a prominent Virgo, the worst thing you could do is to criticize them. The best thing you could do is to encourage them, because they will know their faults. I think one of the least delusional people is a Virgo person, because they are perfectly aware of their shortcomings. And so they don't need somebody to point them out. What they do need is a bit of encouragement. If you are somebody that is in love with a Virgo person, let's say you're a Leo, or you're, I would say like a Leo, an Aries, possibly, I'm trying to think of signs, or even a Scorpio person. And out of the three, the Scorpio person would have the most compatibility with the Virgo, just because it's water and earth. Don't be impatient with them when they seem neurotic due to insecurities. Rather than, double down on them, if they feel like, this bout of self-doubt, it's your job to be a cheerleader, not to further encourage them to focus on their areas that need improvement, because they know that already. And so, you don't have to, you're not going to be enabling them by not pointing out to them what they need to do to get better. They know that, but they have such high standards, they can never live up to it, and that's where some of the conflict comes in. The other thing I would say too is that it's important to understand that Virgo people don't necessarily like to stand out. So a Leo person who may wear, gold lame and go to the gambling casino, the Virgo person wants to fade into the woodwork, usually. If you look at people who are Virgo celebrities, you will see that even when they're well-dressed, they tend to wear very clean lines. They don't tend to wear flashy colors. And they don't necessarily want any attention on them. So if you're somebody who likes attention like a Leo, you may get irked that your Virgo lover does not share that love of the limelight, that they prefer to work behind the scenes and to even do things. Maybe they prefer small parties to large gatherings, and you like to be in the biggest place you can find because you're just naturally very confident and extroverted. These are things that you have to negotiate. It's not my way or the highway. And as I have been saying in all of these videos, when you come into a relationship, and I'm speaking specifically of romantic relationships, and you have this list of demands that this other person has to meet, that's not very fair, because you're not accepting them for themselves. And yes, we all have improvements to make. And so I could totally see somebody being like, well, I think that you should, I think you would be happier if you quit smoking. That's probably something you wouldn't have to deal with Virgo. But I'm just using it as an example. You know, I think you would feel a lot healthier. But I don't even like to use that kind of a habit. I would say something about their personality traits. You know, you have to become more comfortable at parties. You know, you're so shy. And that's the thing. Virgo people tend to be shy. Obviously, this is a general reading or a general video. And a Sun Virgo person could have the moon in Sagittarius and Leo on the ascendant and Mars in Aries and be the life of the party. But we're going for the archetypes here. And so when you meet somebody, you get in a relationship, the goal should not be to change that person. I do believe you can ask for a person to modify their behavior if it's causing you problems. But if they refuse to do it, or if they promise and don't do it, then you eventually have to decide whether you're going to accept it or not. But it's not really fair to constantly nag somebody because they're not doing what you want them to do. You know, you're always free to leave. The problem is it's not that simple. You know, we want to enjoy the best parts of that person. And sometimes the good parts outweigh the small flaws. But sometimes it can be pretty glaring. And so that's when people get like more shrill about it. But you still have to accept people as they are. You know, there's no alternative. But I think Virgo people, what's nice about them is that they really are helpful individuals. They tend to improve other people's lives through their knowledge and through their service. And they tend not to create problems. They're not, trying to suck up all the oxygen in the room. They're not trying to suck up their partner's attention 24/7. They're the hermit, so they're perfectly capable of spending time alone. And they may prefer it sometimes. And they're just like a very peaceful sign because they're earth signs. They tend to be detached and not overly emotional. And, Virgos are awesome. So I hope you enjoyed this, guys. Take care. Bye.